Don't watch Shazam. That's as fast as anyone's going to tell you. It's a terrible movie and it's not worth your time. So smack like on this video for just getting to the point. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about why I say that, and get ready. It's a doozy. There's a lot to unpack here. So for starters, I think I'll just dive right in by talking about the bad humor. I think that's something that most people can usually digest a lot faster, so we're going to go there. The humor is basically like that Gen Z, very disconnected. It's not funny, but they think it's funny humor. It's very awkward and very juvenile in nature. That's not something that a lot of people who appreciate the classic comic books are going to like. Now, once you get past that humor, if you can, because it's literally all over the commentary of the film, which makes it corny and cheesy, then you have another problem. If you are any kind of religious whatsoever, obviously by the title of the film, you know that it's going to have a lot of false idols, false gods, things like that, that they're going to call true God. So that's something that if you're religious, you're not going to like. Another thing you're not going to like is there's a little bit of a darker nature to it, if you will. So again, if you're religious, you know that. Now, I think another thing that is, and this particularly for me is what really had me angry at the movie, is the concept that bullies get away with it. So there's a scene where the handicapped kid, if you could imagine, right? They've got their little inclusivity checklist, but they have a handicapped kid that gets bullied. And in the midst of him getting bullied, the teacher shows up, right? And you think that the bullies are going to get told about themselves and something's going to happen. But they just pick him up off the ground after shoving him down. Mind you, this is a kid with, an arm crutch. And they just say, oh, he fell. He fell, right? And pick him up off the ground, move the trash can out of the way that they're trying to put him in. And the teacher gives him a stern look and then looks at the kid and goes, yeah, as if he had his back. No consequence of any kind goes to the bullies whatsoever, and then when the teacher walks away, they throw a football at his head. So it's teaching kids that the jocks can bully kids, and there's no kind of consequence. It's literally promoting violence against handicapped children, because that's what that is, all right? And I had a problem with it, because I don't appreciate that kind of thing. And so that was the first thing that really upset me, People talk a lot about promoting and inciting violence. That is what will do it, because you're going to have impressionable minds watching this movie, whether you think so or not, if it's a teenage movie. And seeing that kind of behavior against somebody that's handicapped, it's not going to take two synapses to fire together to figure out that they can be bullies. That's just you know what I mean? It's why even have that in there, right? Show a consequence for that behavior if you put it in there, but they didn't. So that really upset me. And I don't care that he's some superpowered being on the outside world, because pretty much throughout the whole movie, the guy was taking L's. I mean, if we're calling it what it is, he was getting knocked around in his regular form, which was the handicapped form, for most of the movie, which I didn't really appreciate. So it just kind of felt like the handicapped person was there to kind of be a joke and to kind of be like Mr. Hobbles, if you will, that gets knocked around. I didn't really like that. I thought that was very distasteful. The other thing that they did in the movie that I didn't really appreciate is the open, and you're going to have to call it for what it is, whether you want to or not. There's not a single reviewer that's going to do this, but I will. The open references towards, pedophilia, all right? Very uncomfortable territory for parents and everybody involved in the theater, but it is something that needs to be addressed. There is a main character, the female named Anne, okay? She's 6,000 years old, and the boy is obviously of teenage years. They make this age gap known and apparent. And upon doing so, she goes, oh, no, sweetie, I'm much older than you. I'm 6,000 years old. And then goes in and gives him a kiss in front of his parents, who then chime in as if you didn't know that that was inappropriate. They go, this seems oddly inappropriate now. And then the mother goes, yeah. Does nothing about it to stop the behavior, doesn't pull her kid back, doesn't protect her child. So now in movies, we have concepts of, dragon-aged people going in on the youth that are minors confirmed in high school, okay, and making sexual advances towards them, and the parents don't do a thing. That's disgusting, okay? And if the roles were reversed and it was a man that was 6,000 years old that goes in and kisses a girl that's like 13 years old, we'd all have a problem with it. But I don't know why Hollywood thinks it's okay if we allow females to do what the men normally can't. It's unacceptable behavior regardless, and that's just what I'll say there. Then if you can get past that, there's just all the general disrespect they give the character. At no point does he feel like a superhero. He feels like a super clown. Basically, they make him a joke like they did with Thor. He's weak, he doesn't know anything, he's unsure of himself, he's not some strong male role model that little boys can look up to, or some badass action hero that they can play back years later like we had growing up in the millennial age, and of course, years before. Instead, he's this weak, beta, neutered, I don't know about myself kind of guy. It's pathetic, and I'm tired of these kinds of superhero movies because there's nothing super about them. And of course, you know, it's like backwards, because they have moments where the girls come to save the day, and then immediately after they get tangled up and choked out. It's like if there was a moment where this movie could have done something to check off their inclusivity checkbox, they just put them in there as props and then immediately disrespected them after. Whether they knew they were doing that or not, but it's so annoying, right? And you know, then you got the kids with little potty mouths, you know, you got the little black girl riding a unicorn at the end of the movie talking about taste the rainbow, mother effer. Taste the rainbow, mother effer. You know, they cut off, you know, 1/3 of it, okay? So you can still understand very clearly that she's saying mother effer, and kids aren't that dumb. They've probably heard parents saying that around the house, so they know what you're saying, right? And, you know, I just found that part a little odd. There's also an Easter egg that if you can figure out and connect the dots, then you also know what they did with her character as well. And that's where we're going to have to leave it for social media reasons. The point is, if you can get past all that I just mentioned, it gets even worse, because at no point do they tell a coherent story of a boy that is a superhero that you care about. Instead, they just told a bunch of random, boring jokes that they thought young kids would like, but didn't actually take the time to understand what the audience wanted to see from this kind of movie. And then it gets even worse, because at the end, it's just kind of like the young boy hitting on the super old lady again. It's like, and then the parents make another comment towards the end of the movie about, what is it with these young boys and these older women? So again, we're making another tip of the hat towards child interaction with older adults, older people. It's just inappropriate. And it was multiple times at this point. And that's where I lost patience with it, because it's like, listen, I have no interest in a film like that. That's just not fun for me. And some people can think that this is stretching or reaching, but when they come out and say exactly that, you know what it is. You can't call it anything other than that. It's inappropriate. And so for me, that was really annoying. And then, of course, there's just, again, the general bad writing of the story. You don't care about any of the characters. You don't feel like there's a purpose for doing most of the stuff that they were doing. And it's boring. It's a very boring movie, and you want to fall asleep as you're watching it. It's not something that you want to engage with at all. And I think when you're watching a superhero movie, you think action, thrill, excitement. This movie has almost none of those. I mean, they have like a dragon that's not even a real dragon. It's made of wood, and it's like, they don't even tell you why it's made of wood. It's just stupid. You know, there's this, it's just weird. It's like they take elements from what feels like Naruto with some divine tree that they put in the earth that wants to destroy the planet. It doesn't feel original. It feels stupid, frankly. And I think anybody who actually cares about Shazam would be kind of annoyed with the movie and maybe rather watch something animated where he might have had a stronger appearance, if at all. But the point is, I mean, this is just not a good film. There's a reason why it is a multi-million-dollar box office flop. And if you want to, go see it for yourself and go find that reason out. If you're not somebody that takes movies seriously and you don't look for like a whole lot, your expectations are you just want to sit in a seat for 2 hours, then this is a great movie to do that, because that's what the movie's 2 hours, and you'll be sitting there for 2 hours. But they're not doing 2 hours of storytelling. It's just 2 hours of like incoherent rambling. And I think that's what really troubles this movie. That and of course their pedophilic undertones that they have in this movie. For whatever reason, that's what they wanted to do. So that's the review for this movie. But I'd love to know if you saw it, what you thought about it, and if there's something I forgot to mention in this review, let me know in the comments down below. As always, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. The #1 brand in honesty. Till the next video, I'll see you guys later.